After hundreds of walkthroughs, evidence of water is the one sign that means that a home is maybe in need of repairs. So if you see things like stains, warped flooring, bubbling paint, musty smell, or even efflorescences, those are all signs that means water is in a place where it shouldn't be. Sure, you can wait for an inspection to figure out what exactly needs to be repaired, but in states like Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, North Dakota, Virginia, and Wyoming, those states are considered buyer beware, where the buyer assumes the risk of a property's defects. So you might want to have some knowledge of the home's condition before risking any money, because this is the type of issue that most buyers are going to overlook and then later have to shell out thousands of dollars. Water intrusion is like the number one issue, at least the number one domino effect to the structural, air quality, even your electrical. I'll show you exactly how to spot it, what it can mean for you, and what to do next so you don't end up buying a money pit like honestly I did. Unfortunately, this actually happened to me, where 2-3 months after closing, we eventually found that there was water seeping into the home. Granted, thankfully, it wasn't such a large issue that it did literally destroy the budget that we have already set, but it was one of those issues that myself, everyone that was with me, the inspector, we all missed the issue, and it could have been several different things that was happening there. It was either a very fresh issue that wasn't really apparent or was hard to see in the time being, or honestly, it just started after maybe closing. So you may not be able to catch these 100% of the time, because of course water is not an easy thing to spot, especially if it's a fresh issue. It's not going to leave those stains. It's not going to do the bubbling paint. It's not going to leave any warped flooring. You're not going to get any smell off of that. So these are some of the things that I'm going to go ahead and share with you to go ahead and identify and at least increase your chances of finding these issues before you get stuck with it and have no choice but to repair it. So the first thing you should be doing, I get it, you walk into the home, you see open concept, you see the beautiful kitchen, you see the layout, you're all in love with it, but honestly, look up, guys. Just look up at the ceiling. Look up at the ceiling in terms of where the wall and the ceiling meets, and see if there's anything that looks unusual there. I don't know how many times I walk through homes and I'm constantly looking up to find these little things, because I know a lot of my buyer clients, which I all love and dare, but they're not looking for things like this. They're more concerned with, all right, where's the furniture gonna go? How are we gonna place things in certain areas? So just do yourself a favor and just look up from time to time. Maybe it doesn't have to be all the time, because again, you're probably gonna hire an inspector to go ahead and do so, or maybe you even have a real estate agent that is going to be able to be another set of eyes to be able to help you identify some issues like that. But look up. And if you don't want to look up because you don't want to break your neck like doing this all day, perfectly fine. Go ahead, you can look around the doors and the windows. So those are another place where water can typically find its way in. And of course, if you see or feel any soft spots, then that's an easy and clear sign that water is making its way into the home.
Have you ever wondered what water intrusion on a window looks like? Let me show you. See how that paint is peeling away? You can see it coming up. Paint's peeling away here. There's more up there. And oh look, you can actually see some droplet stains on the window. Same thing on this side.
As far as flooring goes, well, if you feel it's odd in a certain area, or even if you see swelling, then those are two things that can easily identify that there's an issue there. It may not be water, but there's an issue there. I'll share a little bit more later in this video about exactly how to spot those out when it comes to the flooring. Under the sink is another one too, and I mean, I'm just out of curiosity, leave it in the comments below how many of you actually turn on the water and see if there's any water dripping on like the cabinet that's underneath the sink when you're touring any home. Just leave it in the comments below if you've done it before, and if you haven't, just it's not a bad thing, because again, a lot of individuals just don't do these things. But of course, if you see water dripping underneath the sink, then that's of course a sign. But if you also see black stains, then of course that's also a big sign. But also another place you can look, right, is the basement. So thankfully here in North Carolina, we don't really have to deal with basements. But maybe if you are in a place or a state where there are a lot of basements, then that's another place where water of course is going to build up and start to build this effluence. Probably even see rusty water pans or just rust throughout the entire basement in itself. But this is what I really want you to be careful of. If you're walking through a home and you see fresh paint in patches, just know, I don't know what they're trying to cover up, but something, you got to get a little bit more clarity there, or start poking for something, because there could be something that's going on in that sort of circumstances. Because why would you patch, why would you paint in patches? Why not just paint entirely? So just if you see fresh paint in patches, just start to raise the question marks as far as what else could be going on there. Now that we covered the inside of the home, let's go ahead and go outside to the exterior, because there are some issues there that you can identify even before walking into the home, starting with the roof, the shingles, the gutters. Even if the gutters are too short and really close to the foundation, you find water pooling, that's a clear red sign. But going back to the roof, if you see any missing shingles, if you see waves, if you see dark streaks, these are all signs of things that you can identify and say, all right, well, either it needs to be repaired or there could be water finding its way in. Now it's up to you to go on this task and try to find where exactly that water could be coming in from. But if you're really concerned about water intrusion in a home that you're looking at, then the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself is go ahead and check out those homes when it's raining. Although there are plenty of other issues that are just as important as water, I feel as if water is the one thing that is really sneaky and hard to identify, because it doesn't really leave clues unless if it's been there for a very long time, which at that point, if you see those clues, it's been there for too long and it's too late. You have to make those repairs and you'll just be stuck with the issue. And sometimes it's probably not even the previous owner. It could be your own doing. Like if you have an upstairs and the upstairs bathroom starts to leak, that's just something you're just gonna have to deal with.
One day I was in the kitchen and it just started pouring on top of my head. I was like, where is this water coming from?
So if you do want another set of eyes to identify some deal-breaking issues and you want a real estate agent by your side to help you identify these things, go ahead and click the link in the description below to be connected to a real estate agent in your local market. But if you insist on going about it on your own, there are a few things that you can do yourself, and I like to call it the sniff and touch test. So immediately when you walk into the home, go ahead and take a pause and just smell. What is it that you really get? If you get a musty smell, then obviously now you need to raise a little bit more questions, because there is something going on there that you got to identify. And of course, at this point in time, you can go around touching things, feeling things, stepping on things to see if it is an issue if it is an issue that you can easily identify. But if you want to take things to another level and increase your buyer IQ, I would recommend go ahead and pick up one of these. This is a moisture meter. So this here is going to identify, and this is only when you see there is an issue. I wouldn't go ahead, at least this one here. This one has pins on it. So I wouldn't go ahead poking holes through the cellar's walls or anything of that nature. In fact, there are pinless ones, which I would highly recommend going to get. In fact, I'll leave it in the description below, so if you want to go ahead and check it out and get it yourself. But this way, at least if you do come across something, you're like, what is this? You're uncertain, you're unsure, or at least you're like, hey, this may be water. You can at least go ahead and put that moisture meter onto it, and it will tell you if it's low. This one at least does it. If it's low, medium, or high. That way you can go ahead and identify if it is something that you should go ahead and raise more questions and ask the seller, hey, what's going on here? Or you can easily just do something that a lot of individuals do, right? A lot of buyers do. They just hire an inspector to go ahead and look at the home so that they can identify the issues and find it, and that way you can go about it that route.
I noticed the water damage as soon as I came in this room, so I grabbed my moisture meter just to see how much water is still present at the baseboard, and you can't get much more than 100%. So let's go outside and see where this water is coming in. I'd already noticed this home did not have kick-out flashing at most of the corners, and in this situation we have a gutter right above that may also be leaking. We have water standing running down, and then an area where water can essentially collect and pool up because of the landscaping, and it is causing water entry.
So what should you do next if you do see evidence of water where it really shouldn't be? So this is not the opportunity to go ahead and panic. This is just your time to document, and just document everything that you see, you heard, you saw, you smelled. Take pictures, right, so that you have proof of what you saw during your tour, or at least your walkthrough when you were going through that home. And honestly, I get it. I am stating that number one issue is water, in my opinion, that the home needs repairs, but it all depends on the severity of the issue, and that is up to you to judge on how severe of that issue, and is it even an issue that you even want to take on. Because if it is, and you're going to go ahead and take the next step, then of course ask all the questions that you possibly may need, or at least have, to the seller to identify what the heck is going on here. And it all depends on what type of market are you even in. Are you in a market where the seller is literally saying, take it as is, I'm not making any repairs? Or are you in a market where it's more of a buyer's market where you have options, you have choices, and the sellers kind of have to settle with you? And of course, if you're in that sort of market, the buyer's market specifically, then you have a little bit more leeway, and you can use that as a negotiating tool a lot more effectively than if you are in a seller's market. So let's say you are in a buyer's market and you're going to go ahead and negotiate. These are some of the few things that you can request. You can request for a price reduction. You can request for a repair credit or just have the seller outright fix it however they decide to fix it, and of course provide you with permits that they stated, and of course and permits, and also the receipts stating that they go ahead and do it. But one thing I would say, although I just said it, I would never, I always recommend this, at least with my buyer clients as well, let's not leave it up to the seller to fix it at all. In fact, go get and hire your own contractor. That way you know that you vetted the individual, you know this person's quality of work is going to be up to par, and they're not cutting any corners. That's why I say take it off the seller. Just take as if like, hey, take the credit, take the money, take whatever it is that you want to take, and at least do it yourself. That way you know it got done properly. So those are like all your options, that what you can do if you find any sort of evidence of water in a place where it shouldn't be. And I'm sharing with you all that you can do to protect yourself as a buyer, because don't be the type of buyer to go ahead and demand of any request after you close on a home, because I'm just going to state it now. Good luck getting any of your demands, requests, or at least your demands or requests met. So if you don't want to do any of the negotiating and you want to leave it up to someone like me or a real estate agent in your local market, be sure to click the link in the description below to be connected to a local agent in your market that can help you do so. But here's something to really think about. Let's not forget that water intrusion into any home, especially if it's sitting there for quite some time and not getting repaired, can also lead to mold, which now becomes a health hazard. So you can see how much of a beast of water can be in terms of how much damage it actually can do, which I'm also going to relay to you as well. If you're doing your final walkthrough, which you should always be doing at least 1 or 2 days before closing, and identifying, is everything done the way that it was supposed to be done? Is the property the way that you first initially saw it? Right? If there are some more issues that do arise between when you got it on a contract to when you're closing, then honestly, this is just my personal opinion. What I would do, I would not sign any documentation, no paperwork at all, stating that I want ownership of that property, because now that issue becomes your issue. I would then go say, hey, these are some issues that came up, what's going on there, and just kind of go back in there renegotiating. Yes, it's going to be a headache, because now you're trying to essentially close on a home and move forward with your life, but now you have this barrier in your way. But it's better than taking on a home that you already know that needs repairs. Even if there is a home warranty provided in there, I'm just going to caution you about it. Some of them are great, some of them are like, they don't really do anything for you. So just be cautious of what exactly, or at least understand what issues are being covered in that home warranty. That way you don't put yourself in a situation thinking the home warranty is going to cover it, and then you find out the home warranty says, nope, sorry, not this one. So if you remember one sign, remember where water shouldn't be. If this video helped you, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment. What is one thing that you would never accept in a home? But thank you all for watching. My name is Roney Polynice, and remember, I got your back.